Starting the stream and
I can't believe I'm doing this.
Doing what?
This whole thing.
I love it. Hey,
All right.
have you started it?
All right, guys, we are live. For everybody watching, happy Friday, boys. Happy Friday.
Hey, cheers. Happy
Cheers.
Friday.
Cheers.
We are just a bit outside podcast, and I'm just gonna get us kicked off here. We're a sports conversation and a whole lot of fun. That's what you'll find on Just a Bit Outside. Join us as we talk about the latest sports news, our favorite teams and players, and everything from fantasy football to dad jokes. But don't worry, it's not all about sports. But let's be real, it's mostly about sports. We'll talk about lots of different things like drinks, fatherhood, and other things we enjoy because, as we all know, life is about more than just the game. So let's get it started, boys. How we doing?
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Cool.
Same.
Well, good day to kick it off on. I mean, it's Friday for starters, but Friday on the eve of Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. It's exciting time in sports, especially in football.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what are your predictions? What do we got? What's who's gonna win?
Well, first of all, I want to be able to see the game because all you volleyball dads that are out there may have a tournament game at 5:45 on Sunday,
On Sunday?
which should be against the law in all 50 states, but it is not. So I'm not sure. We'll see how we place. Hopefully, we'll have an early game, and I'll be able to catch it.
That's brutal because actually that reminds me of when I was coaching. This is way back when the Bears were good. The year we went to the Super Bowl.
Wait, what were you, like 14?
The 08? When is that?
Yeah. No, the year we went to the Super Bowl, what was that? 04? No. What was that?
No. 6,
Against
I
Indy.
think.
06?
Yeah, 6. Yeah, 6 sounds right.
Yeah. It was
Against
6.
Indy.
Yeah, it was 6.
Yeah. We had a tournament that was on that day too. So like,
Really?
everybody was like, all the kids were like trying to tank because we had to get home and watch it. I mean, like, you're not talking about just a Super Bowl. We're talking about Bears Super Bowl in the Chicago area. So like we all tanked just to try to get out of there. Hopped in the car, sped as fast as I could to try to get to wherever I was going to watch the game. I think it was my uncle's house. Missed the opening kickoff, which you know what happened in the opening kickoff.
Right.
Hester runs it back.
Hester takes it back. And all
kickoff.
Bears fans rejoiced just to have our hopes dashed right thereafter.
That was the best part of the game, and I missed it, and then it all went kind of downhill from there.
It's got to be.
I will never forget that. Is that when that was happening? I was over at a buddy's house. We were watching on, it was like a 50-inch screen, which was really big for back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, I'll never forget the flashes from the stands, from everybody taking pictures.
Right.
It was so cool just to see that. And then for that to happen, for that year that Hester had, and then all of that to happen like that, and for that to be, it was incredible. But that it's dashed.
Between that and I think the Prince halftime show was pretty badass too. I don't know if you guys are Prince fans at all, but like,
you don't have to be a Prince fan to love that. That was cool, man.
I mean, like, it doesn't get much better than that, really.
That was cool. That was really cool.
Yeah, I think that was probably where I actually like discovered Prince. Like, he's not just like some pop star. Dude's a friggin' musician.
Oh yeah,
like, everything and play it just like insanely well. And like when I saw him just kind of just grab the guitar and just freaking wail on it in the middle, like it just pseudo improv in the middle of the rain, doing like Purple Rain. I was like, oh, it's over. This is the greatest, probably one of the greatest halftime shows that I've ever witnessed for sure.
So underrated as a musician.
That was good. I can't remember what game that was, but U2 did one too. That was really good as well.
U2, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think is that around 9/11? They did a tribute. It was a tribute. And I think it was. I can't remember, but it was really cool too.
I'm not the biggest U2 fan. They're not bad, but I have a bad taste in my mouth from when they put their stuff on iPods and you couldn't take it off.
Oh yeah, it came preloaded. That's right.
And pre-loaded those iPods, and no matter what you did to delete it, it was always there. It always came back.
I forgot about that.
That is a I've totally forgot about that as well.
Yeah, after that, I kind of not been the biggest YouTube fan, but
that's a total Andy principle that only Andy would say.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah,
there has to be a
never mind.
Because
never mind the fact that you guys are great musicians. You can't if I can't take your stuff off of friggin' my iPod, you're dead to me.
So there has to be a curse because the Bengals went to the Super Bowl for the first time in my life, and we're hosting a Super Bowl party and everything like that. And I got COVID. I tested positive for COVID that day. And we had to tell like 15 people to not come because I got COVID.
Did you watch it by yourself?
Literally watched it by myself with my wife asleep on the couch next to me. Like, what could have been, Yeah. So I told her, I was like, just be prepared. Next time the Bengals are in the Super Bowl, just know I'm going to do what it takes to go.
Right.
Just know now it's going to be a financial hit. When I'm going. We've been so bad my entire life until literally Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase got together. So I'm like, who knows with the Brown family, the next time the opportunity will come, I got to take it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. You guys are a lot better than now than you have been in the past, obviously. But I think you guys have a reason to have some sustained success for a little while with some of your folks. Hopefully you guys can get back there. I was gonna make a joke about you having to ask your hospice care to let you go to the Super Bowl the next time.
Let's hope not.
It's probably more accurate because we have youth. The issue is we don't have disposable money for guaranteed contracts, and that's where the NFL is going. So right now we have Joe Burrow's contract, who this week he did just come out and say he'd be willing to restructure if it meant we could keep T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. But we also have Trey Hendrickson, who led the league in sacks this year, who is
really well
ready for another contract. We have the #1 wide receiver in the NFL who won the Triple Crown this year, when we should have signed him last year. Now it's going to cost astronomically more money.
Now it's going to cost you.
There's thing I feel like in any of these sports, everybody hopes for the GMs to kind of align everything such that you're not pressed for cap space or anything like that. But it's even if you do that for a year or two, something's always coming behind you that's going to just completely cripple you. And especially for the smaller market teams like poor Cincinnati and stuff like that. It's you guys don't have disposable income.
Right.
Those sorts of things can set you back a lot. You can't just reach in the pocket and pull it out.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Brown the Bengals owners. Well, one you already mentioned one thing. Cincinnati's a small market. It's not Chicago, New York, LA.
Yeah, smaller. Yeah.
Right, smaller market, but also the owners are not independently wealthy. Their money is from the Bengals, right? So you don't have billionaires or owners of Walmart that have all the money in the world. What they can do, guaranteed,
unless you're the McCaskies,
put it in escrow, and then
Rest in peace, Virginia.
Rest in peace, Virginia. We got to get to that subject too. We got to talk about that. I heard some really cool stuff.
I mean, it's a good transition. I think this is a great time to start.
There's really no format here, so you just say what you want to say, bud.
Yeah.
No. I was gonna get into that. It's about I was gonna ask a question about the Myles Garrett trade because it was kind of on the thing of how much you want to spend, how much you can spend, as an organization, and some of the trade rumors coming out. I was like, man, what is he? 31 now? Is he 28? 28? Has he hit his 30s? I thought he was 31. But maybe that's a bit too old. It's somewhere around in that range. And I know
he's 29.
He's 29. Okay.
Which, as far as defensive linemen go, that's not
edge rushers really start to hit their prime right around 30, right? But
he's not a wide receiver. It's not the
running back.
Right. And he's had double-digit seasons for what, 3 years now in a row, something like that. But the rumors going around for how much they want people want like how much the Bears would be willing to dump for him
Mhm,
is just insanity. Like it's starting to get to a point where it's like for any team, it's not worth it.
mhm, yeah.
Well,
You're
listen,
talking two firsts, a second, or maybe even 2 seconds, two firsts. Like
As long as they don't start doing crazy shit like deferring salaries like the freaking Dodgers in the MLB
that's
where
the
like
bad
they're
thing
gonna
about him.
yeah.
It's a bad thing about him too, right? Is that he's got a contract coming due here in a couple of
Mhm.
years, and you're going to end up having to fork over a lot of money. So not only are you giving up trade capital, you're
Right.
now going to have to give up actual cap space.
That's kind of the wild thing that I'm seeing about these trades is like, like you're talking about a trade for a player who's not under a lot of control here. So like, yeah, you think
Yeah.
it's going to take a lot to get Myles Garrett, but you're getting 1 year of Myles Garrett before you have to figure something out.
Right.
And like we've kind of done that before on the Bears. Like
Yeah.
we who was it? We recently just did that, I think, too. We had we had Montez Sweat too. We traded him before we
Right.
signed him. And
Right.
then we traded for him before we signed him to a long-term extension, and like
Right. And then
kind of got
yeah.
got your ass in the wind a little bit there as well too. I mean, like
Yeah, had
you
he
know,
not even restructured, we would have been really, really
right?
screwed. But he was cool enough to restructure. Yeah.
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 So
It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
But Virginia,
mhm.
that's crazy.
Right?
I don't know if you watching like some of the things that her first she was being carried by Red Grange off the train.
It's nuts.
Did you hear this? It's like one of the first NFL like they were.
I mean,
they
I know
were
she's
using
old.
Well, they were using her as a decoy for Red Grange when he would get off the train for games because he didn't want to be spotted by the media. And so
Mhm.
he would be carrying Virginia in his arms and wearing a big, a
Mhm.
hat so people can't see him.
Yeah.
So nobody would bother him. It's just it's wild. It's
I thought
wild
you
how
would go some of the other wild stuff. Like I always knew that there was like rifts between the family and like because obviously McCaskey's own it because the Hallises owned it and she was married into the Hallises family. But
right.
like I know there's a rift between the Hallises and McCaskeys for ownership. But like, yeah, of course. Then after she died, I started like trolling down on Reddit a little bit, and people started coming in with their true to Reddit form like wild conspiracy theories. But like there's a lot of stuff out there about like how she could have possibly killed her brother. Like
Really,
yeah, like
that's
they were saying
insanity.
like I mean it's not anything worth like real airtime over, but like it just kind of gives it this awesome like Chicago gangster vibe story. Like
it's true.
like I can't help but like want it to somewhat be controversial and real because it was just around the time when like that sort of story was really cool and like happened all the time.
Yeah.
Like like you were somebody if you were getting caught up in mob hits or if you were part of mob hits,
Right.
like you knew that's how you knew you made it in the Chicago area. And I feel like
And then there's Virginia
awesome
McCaskey who goes to church almost every single day, lives in the same house. I don't even know. I don't know if she passed in that same house, but she had that house well into her 80s where it was very modest, very she never knew that she was worth billions of dollars.
Right.
Just very unassuming. But yeah, pretty cool. It's wild. To think that she was basically there at the inception of the NFL. It's just crazy.
Nutty.
Yeah. It's wild. So now it'll be interesting to see what happens. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
With the team. I don't know what it's all that's got to settle out, of course, but I know that she was probably very explicit in what happens next.
Well, right, because that was the whole thing. Is like, I guess the story is that she was the one who, as soon as Muggsy, who perfect Chicago nickname for another mob story
name.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Muggsy, her brother. As soon as he died, she immediately like restructured the Hallises down to non-voting shares. Like that was what the story was, that they kept people say that they tried to devalue it, but I think the real kicker about changing it. I think it was like, I don't know the finance behind it. It was like changing it from Series A to Series C shares, but they removed all the voting control and gave her a narrow majority on the voting. Gave that the McCaskies and McCaskies operating as the Chicago Bears the majority votes, and first right of refusal, which is another interesting one too. That like if the Hallises decided they wanted to share or wanted to sell, the Bears, headed by Virginia McCaskey's vote, has the first right of refusal, meaning she could block the sale, buy them herself, and then take the next 10 years to pay off the same amount that
Crazy.
people that came in to buy the shares. So yeah, it's nuts. I don't know how much of it's true. I don't know like what's going on, but it'll be interesting to see what shakes out after, after.
I have no dog in this fight, but I guess I can understand from her perspective. She is a first descendant, right? And so, and everybody else after that. And I don't think did Muggs have any children?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I thought he died pretty young.
Yeah, he did die young. Yeah, I don't know if he had any children. There's a freaking family tree out there somewhere I try to make sense of, but I couldn't.
I'm sure there is. Sure, on Reddit.
It is, yeah,
Oh,
right.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Reddit's the
Speaking of decisions, whatever happened with Arlington? Like, was it?
They're gonna do it.
Yeah,
they're gonna.
Everything
else
really
is posturing.
Yeah, I think it's all political posturing, and I don't think, I don't. They just announced too in Chicago that they're gonna pass a bill, or trying to pass a bill. It's called like the Bears Act or something like that. This is awesome. This is gonna really just cut our team in the nuts right now. They're trying to pass a bill I think it's just specifically Chicago, though it could be all of Illinois, where in order to get secure public funding for a stadium, your team has to have been over 500 in 3 of the last 5 years.
Are you serious?
No,
I did not hear about this.
I'm dead serious. Yeah.
So now it's going to be in the city's interest for the Bears to do poorly consistently.
Right. Yeah. Or they're just trying to set goalposts like 70 yards down the field and telling the Bears to try to kick it through.
Well, they're going to be very disappointed next year.
Well, that's true. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Let's be optimistic here.
There's always next year. There's always next year.
So you said you think they are going to go to Arlington, or it was all just a political move?
No, they're going to go to Arlington. They'd be stupid not to. There's every other location they've talked about is a logistical nightmare, not only from the political aspect of it, but the land, the real estate just isn't there. I mean, in my opinion, like they could take the old, or they take the parking lot to the south, and they were talking about doing that whole thing. It would be a logistical nightmare, not to mention all the regulation around being around the lake that they're going to have to deal with.
Well, getting to the stadium now was a nightmare. Like you have to walk like a mile and a half. Was it over a mile from the L?
Dude, the Uber drivers now, they won't even go to the stadium. They legitimately let you out on an exit ramp, and you have to walk down the exit ramp.
You walk the tunnel, or?
Yeah, I walked the tunnel. Yeah,
because it's impossible to get. Yeah,
they're just like, I'm not waiting. Like, coming off of Lakeshore Drive, there's like 3, maybe tops, maybe even less. 3 places you can get off Lakeshore Drive and get over to the the campus.
Museum Drive.
Yeah. So everybody just sits there trying to get off that exit ramp, and the Uber drivers are like, "F it, we're not doing that anymore." So they pull into that little triangle right before you hit the Jersey barriers or whatever, and they let you out, and you say, walk down the exit ramp yourself. You're not gonna get run over because these cars are in a freaking parking lot.
Which that alone is an accessibility issue. You can't get to the game, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the only thing that would be, I thought it made it had difficulty with accessibility. I can imagine when it goes out to Arlington.
Yeah.
Right.
No, Arlington would be great. Like, and they just modern stadiums, man. They want space. They want to be able to build like parks in the area and all the commerce and stuff like that. And like Arlington's got that in spades. Like, and
Plus, there's
so much land,
and just
and the
you
train's
got the
coming
train,
the train stops right there,
right there. Like, just it just makes so
and
much
there's
sense.
a regular stop there. Like, so
Right.
they don't even need to do anything.
They don't even need to build one. Yeah, it's right there.
Is it like a metro stop, or is it an L?
Yeah, it's literally
Metro.
in the parking lot of Arlington.
Because it was like when it was
made
the
for
horse
it.
track, when it was a horse track.
Yeah.
That's why they made it. It made sense. So
Yeah.
Which is funny because I'm looking up at my picture here, and this is the NFC Championship, January 21st, 2007. So it was a 2006.
It's literally right here.
That's literally right there, and I was trying
look at it. I was trying to do the math on when I graduated from college, because I started coaching pretty much right after I graduated from college. And when I said 04, I was like, nope, that's not it. That's definitely not it.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
No.
So Super Bowl, though. I mean, is anybody interested in this game at all?
It's not the team I wanted.
Only
really
to watch
wanted...
to watch Casey lose.
Right. That's why I want to watch it. I want to watch it to watch Casey lose.
It's like two teams on the up, like playing their best football, I feel like, right now.
Yeah, getting hot at the right time.
I do, and I was listening to a few folks that were talking, some of the media folks that were doing interviews, and they were just and watching practices, and they were saying Philly just seems a lot different this time. Like they feel like they've been there, and like they're not starstruck or anything like that. They seem more business.
Well, that happened.
Well, not to mention they are going to be. They got revenge. That is a good motivator.
Yeah, well, they have Saquon Barkley, who is absolutely on the revenge tour of his life.
Single-handedly making the running back relevant again in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, offensive player of the year, right? Is that
right? Yeah, that's right.
Won last night. Yeah. But
Dante's saying, like, thank you, because my stock capital keeps going up the more Saquon runs.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Well, honestly, this year I think was a massive year for the running back as far as contracts go, because they've been
It was.
As of years recently, it's been, get them through their rookie contract. If you get them in the first year, get that 5th-year option, whatever it is, and then after that, they're old.
Mm-hmm.
Ship them off, and they don't pay them, so they play on that rookie contract or 4th-year option, whatever. They play on that rookie contract, and then they never get their payday because the peak age for a running back in the NFL performance-wise is like 24 and a half. So it doesn't make sense to give a running back a long contract. Right. But then you have Saquon Barkley having the year he's had. Yeah. You have King Henry pushing 45, it feels like, because he's been in the league forever. Absolutely dominant year. I mean, it's this has been.
Did you hear about his training regimen and what he spends to keep his body in shape?
Oh, he spends whatever he's spending.
$250,000 a year, and he takes this. Of course, he takes this incredible, like this nutrition regimen, whatever, to try and keep himself as young as possible.
Yeah,
he's a beast.
I mean, Brady,
Henry,
well,
I was talking
everyone's understanding and respecting the power of nutrition.
Well, I think you just touched on it. It's like if the NFL is saying you guys have passed your prime at 24, what do you do to compete with that? You try to take care of your body and prove them wrong and say, hey, look, I can go past 24, and then it's going to take some trailblazers like Henry and Saquon to kind of pull the running back into relevancy in terms of, at least in terms of contracts, and like all these teams everybody says we want to establish the run to open up the pass. We want to establish the run to open up the pass. But like
no one does
anytime you say that, like I can hear what you're saying. What you're saying is you want to pass, but you feel like in order to be able to do that successfully, you have to pay lip service to the run. And
they're using it
like
this is the first year
buried in there.
This is the first year that they've really kind of gotten back to their roots.
Yep.
Right? Like it has been a pass first league for the last 5-6 years. Save obviously Henry just kind of chugging along in the background, but now this finally to have the two of them really kind of standing out this year.
Right. And like the two passing and running can coexist, and like it's not a wrong to say we want to be able to run to establish the pass, but when you go on record as saying that, like everybody knows, okay, well you're just trying to do that to kind of get we want to like, okay, let's run the ball a few times and then, okay, let's go pass, you know, like but if you legitimately can play off of each other and you have an OC who's not so hell bent on becoming the next tree for people to be picked off of, you know, by scheming these insanely goofy pass plays and new things, you know, like if you have an OC who truly understands that, he won't say those things. He'll just say, we want to, you know, like this is our offense. This is how we run it. And I think I start to see that out of Philly a little bit. It's like nobody's saying we're you know, the game plan isn't let's establish Saquon Barkley to open up our passing game. The game plan is to run our offense. It just so happens that our offense is predicated on Saquon being a huge part of that. And you know, and then thankfully they got, you know, a pretty decent quarterback as well too. So I think it works. And
that's huge what you just touched on, because in order for we need to establish the run to hold weight, you need to not be losing by 3 touchdowns in the first half, because then you're gonna abandon the run period. You have to have a quarterback that can you know spread the defense out to allow for running lanes. You know, and it's might have to have an offensive line. Like you have to be able to block the run game.
Right.
I mean, I think of like, you know, when Derrick Henry was in Tennessee, like they knew they were running because they didn't have a passing offense.
They didn't have one, right? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So like, it's you have to have balance. You have to have
pretty much everybody knew Will Levis was not going to beat you guys.
1,000%.
You're right.
Right. Exactly.
Well, you know what's interesting with Philly though is that they're really good. If you look at them historically, structurally, they're the same team, right? They haven't changed a ton over the last 3 years. What has changed is the addition of Barkley, right? And so you saw a team that was a solid football team that had a good, pretty even balance, you know, but then just launched into the stratosphere with having just Barkley. So it's a good right. It's like a good benchmark to say, like, look, this is what a running back can do for your team, right? When you have the right mix of players in place, and then you add that extra element, which is that 12th man essentially that now you have to look out for instead of just covering the route tree all day long.
A top talent is at any of those skill positions is a top talent. He's going to be a game changer no matter what, you know, but like it you know, I think to touch on the running back thing again, it's just always been a thing where it's like, okay, we may not have the top talent, but there's some pretty good talent pretty much at all levels and stuff like that. So
gives you a lot more respect for the running backs that didn't have a line and didn't have an offense and still did it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, the Walter Paytons, the Sanders, dude,
that was like those guys were like such prime football players, and it was
also a different league then too. You know,
it
was more run heavy than it is now. A little more smash mouth football.
Yeah, those teams still sucked. Bad.
Yeah.
And had zero line for a large majority of it, and they still made it happen.
Yeah.
And I do think Philly, you know, you mentioned that Philly didn't change a ton. I do think the Jalen Carter addition is a pretty huge thing on the defensive side.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's a good point.
I didn't
think about that. It was that's
I didn't
for sure.
I didn't want it to be because God, like we had the opportunity to take him, and then that whole freaking story broke early in his draft where he was, you know, involved in that car crash. And like I'm such a high character dude. Like when polls came on record as saying we're only going to pick high character guys, like immediately that ruled out Jalen Carter for me. And so like and then Tyreek, Claypool and Tyreek,
you're right.
Like no, right game plan, wrong execution for sure. Like, but I was starting to really wonder, like, is like after Tyreek had his moment with the Hail Mary. I was really starting to wonder if that was just lip service or if he was truly, like truly trying to pick high character guys and just didn't see this happening with Tyreek. And realistically, I mean, like you're not going to be able to pick all guys that are going to be, you know, perfect friggin' schoolboys.
But you knew who Claypool was, and you still did it anyway.
Dude, the Claypool thing, like Yeah, like
because
that
you
was
looked at him and you went, "Come on, man."
it was
It's
a risk,
like-
and we needed somebody for Fields to throw the ball to.
Right.
Because at that time we were still unsure with Fields. I think I give Poles a pass on that one because it was not about finding Claypool. It was about trying to find a wide receiver middle of the season to give you more insight into whether or not you wanted to run with Fields or if you were done with him. And I think
Yeah,
I think
but a
that was
second.
I think yeah.
That's a little steep. Yeah.
It was,
steep.
but we have so many goddamn draft picks. Like,
Well, all right. But here's the thing. Why I also give Poles a pass is it's really difficult to get wide receivers that have flashed the talent that he did at times in Pittsburgh
Mhm.
at a reasonable price. And it's not like he was, his offenses beforehand were immature, but they weren't violent. They weren't
Mhm.
dangerous. They weren't
Yeah.
like, this is a kid
Yeah.
who got in the NFL. Hopefully you get him under some leadership. You can kind of pull him up, and it just didn't happen. But
Yeah.
to turn an organization around, at least put them in a position the way Poles has, you got to roll the dice, and you're not going to hit on every roll.
And
No.
like you mentioned how Claypool was a kid and stuff too. Like Poles is a freaking kid too.
Yes.
And he, I feel like when you make that hire, you have to subscribe to a certain level of growing pains with the GM a little bit more so than you would if you hired an established GM. And it's not to excuse poor performance, but it's like if I'm hiring somebody and I'm picking a guy who he's younger than me, which, okay, fine, I'm old, but he's younger than me, and that was kind of like an eye-opening, moment for me, but not by much, by like a couple months. But in any event, like he's a sharp guy, he's a smart guy, he is, and I think he's got a very sound game plan that he laid out on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And like you just need to look at it and say, okay, for as young as how he is, you might get some bumps early on. As long as those bumps don't turn into future mortgaging mistakes, then let him learn, because it's the first time he's ever been a GM. It's the first time he's probably even had a role that's anywhere close to the spotlight. Like all these things, like you're taking a chance and you're kind of gambling on him being a smart guy who just needs to get some experience under his belt with it. So those types of moves, they didn't hit, but they weren't like ruining his plan all along, which I'll add one more point to that. His plan all along was to tear this thing down and build it up from the shit pile over the 4 or 5 years, I think is what he said when he first took over as GM. It's going to be a long couple of seasons for you guys. It's going to be a process.
Yeah.
And so everybody that was calling for him to be fired before he saved himself with the Johnson hire was like throwing out his record and cherry picking a couple of those bad, signings and trades that he made. But that was all part of it. Like he was meant to lose. He was meant to have a losing record to get to the winning record. At this past season, the 2024-2025 season was the first season where he came out and said, okay, we should be competitive.
Yeah.
We weren't. And so that's strike one, in my opinion. The rest of this stuff, you can't fault him for, because it's either learning.
I don't know, man.
It's either learning how to become a GM for a guy who's never done it before, or part of the process of breaking this thing down to the studs and then building it back up again.
I don't know. It's like the Claypool one. You can like that. It was not a good move, but it was not a detrimental.
Wasn't
move.
a backbreaker either.
Wasn't a backbreaker. The Roquan move, and I'll even argue the Montgomery move,
The Monty move,
were not good moves.
The Roquan one for me, I think, was Roquan's fault. Honestly,
I agree.
If I was a GM and some dickhead player came up to me and said, I'm not going to hire an agent, so you need to talk to me, I tell unless we were
There's
in
no
the middle of
requirement he needs an agent.
No, there isn't, but there's a respect that you get when you talk to an agent, and and he has to then take time out of his day-to-day focus on being a player to go negotiate with Ryan Poles in the front office.
Yeah.
And that's just something that's, I don't get me wrong, agents are sleazy as shit. I don't like agents, but
they serve a purpose.
Right, that's
They
how
do serve
things
a purpose,
go.
man.
And there's a level of respect that GM has for an agent that you're going to boilerplate a contract and you're not going to sneak any bullshit in.
Mm-hmm.
But Roquan now has to figure out how to, Poles could have went in there and snuck a bunch of bullshit into his contract because he's not, because he knows he's not an agent, and he knows he's very likely to miss all this bullshit stuff in the contract. He could have done that, and and Roquan would have, could have gotten screwed if he signed something that he didn't quite understand because he doesn't have an agent. I mean, maybe he had a lawyer, but he doesn't have an agent, like a sports agent that understands these things. And to me, it just feels like a kind of a slap in the face when you say, I'm not going to use an agent. I'm just going to go, I'm going to do this on my own. You're nickel and diming a little bit. I feel like maybe you're trying to save on agent fees or whatever, but to me, it's unless this was Roquan in the middle of a championship run or a deep playoff run, if what you're looking at is hey, maybe we can find a way for this to work out while we kind of transition you through this rebuild. If that's what you're looking for, and he comes in and says, okay, great, but I'm not going to use an agent. Fuck you, man. Go. I'll give you my best offer, but we're not going to do this BS back and forth, crap. I'm not going to, I'm not going to leave you out to dry, but I'm also kind of miffed that you're not choosing to use an agent.
You'd be a terrible GM.
Well, but you also have to think. I think the big thing that the big value that comes from an agent is that it can save the relationship, because there's nothing that's going to drive a team and a player apart like a really
money.
Right.
And negotiation of because you're really Roquan and Pace is having to have a discussion with him to sit down and say, this is what I believe your value is to the team.
Right.
And that's a very personal thing to say. So you're absolutely right. That's if anything, that I think agent serves the most purpose, right? Is that you've got that body that's doing that on your behalf.
Yeah.
And they know the market too. They're working for you, but they're working with a lot of other folks too. And so they understand the market for these people. You don't understand it. You maybe know where you stand, and you know, I'm not trying to say you shouldn't value yourself in these situations, but it's if you're way off and you're wild in the ether somewhere with what you think you're worth, some agent's going to tell you, no, man, we're not going to get this. And it's not even worth it to bring it to the table at this point.
Right.
But he would just go in there and be like, this is what I want. And I think I even remember
I think that's basically what happened.
I think that's what he did. Yeah. I think he kind of came in with some pretty non-standard, wild, clauses into his contract that they're like, look, man, this is ridiculous. If he would have had it.
And I think there was a couple of other people that were speaking on his behalf too, which I don't think Poles liked very much. They were friends of his or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He can't possibly do it on his own, but look, and don't get me wrong. Roquan, the player, was a great player, and I wish to Christ we could have kept him for sure. And I will say that there's probably, if Poles is being honest with himself, there probably was maybe a little bit more he could have done to lean into that
100%.
And figure out how to keep him. But at the end of the day, as soon as I heard that he wasn't using an agent, I'm like, oh, he's freaking gone. There's just no way.
Yeah.
The Monty one too. I think even on Monty, I think he walked. I think Poles offered him, and he declined the offer, right?
I think because the offer was still lower than what he wanted, which he ended up, which ironically if I don't know the exact numbers, but I believe that they ended up paying Swift more in the long run anyway.
For sure.
Which is the most, and Monty got from the Lions what I think it was 6 million, something like that. It was something. Yeah, it was like 6 million guarantees. It wasn't a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same thing. It's if you put your best offer on the table and the guy walks, that doesn't mean that you can't use that money elsewhere. and
Right.
get like that's I look at it too. Like, yeah, I've seen a lot of those comparisons. It's like, oh well, we end up paying Swift more in the long run. Yeah, okay, but we're not saying that Poles walked away from Monty and signed Swift because he thought he was better. Poles probably wanted Monty, couldn't make it work, and then decided, okay, now with this extra money, we have to go sign Swift. Somebody who we need somebody. So
Right.
like
somebody.
like it like I guess I without being privy to the negotiations, I don't know if there was ever a path to Monty signing with the Bears.
Yeah, I don't know.
If there wasn't, then it's kind of a moot point,
Mhm.
But you also need a back that can run between the tackles, and Swift is not one of those.
Yeah, the Swift signing may end up becoming a bust as well too. I think he was, I don't think
Well intentioned, but
I don't think he's as bad as he was. That, like, I don't know, like, now I'm like torn because we're talking about how the running back's making a comeback, and now I feel like there's more emphasis on his abilities or lack thereof this season. But I was fine with him. I was fine with him as a running back from the 2020s, early 2000, late.
Look at the Bengals thought that Mixon was washed up, and then he goes,
Well, that's what an offensive line can do. If you go behind
he goes and has a day, right?
I was just about to say, it's funny because Swift, his rookie year, was lights out in Detroit.
Yeah.
But Detroit had an incredible offensive line.
They did.
So it's one of those of like, I don't know if he's obviously shown that he can perform, or else he's just shown how good the offensive line was, and he can't bust those big plays out like he did there without the offensive line.
The Bears couldn't run an outside zone if their life depended on it this year, or couldn't block an outside zone if their life depended on it. They couldn't get out to the edge and couldn't get to people's outside shoulder or to the defenders' outside shoulders, and that's where Swift makes his money, right? Because he's looking for that cutback. Against the grain, and if you can't run that zone correctly, he's not going to be a very effective runner. You got to be able to move the pocket, or not move the pocket, but move the point of attack down the line, and that's Swift is best, and we couldn't do that this year.
And everybody knew when the Bears were going to run an outside zone. It was clear as day every freaking time. The down and distances were the same every time, and it was the lineup or the line formations were the same like every time. There was no, again, it was just
because we were running Waldron's offense. Just listen to Jackson Smith Jigba, right?
Jigba, yeah. And conversely, that was one of the quotes I think I took away from Ben Johnson in his media rounds when he first got hired. It was a Shoop quote. He's a disciple of Shoop, and he said, a good offense makes the same things look different, and different things look the same.
Mm-hmm.
And like that to me, I think it may seem kind of like cliched or kind of like obvious, but like, to me, I think that's where the run game can really be improved across the NFL, is if you can find creative ways to disguise your run plays, or, like, make your pass plays look like obvious runs more. I mean, again, like, it's not rocket science. That's what a lot of people try to do, but it's good to know that that's like kind of like a foundational quote that Ben Johnson keeps with him when he's designing offenses on like how to, like, hopefully when that applies to run games, we won't run outside zone on obvious first down, like right after a failed pass on first down, we're running on second down because because we should have ran it on first down. We didn't. So now we feel like we have to do it on second down, because if we don't do it on second down, they're going to think we're never going to run it again. Like, these are all the things that go through my head, like, psychologically, that I just see with the Bears. And I'm like,
it's all been done. So it's all around disguises.
Yeah.
And all I have to say is, and I don't know if Cincy, I guess I haven't watched enough Cincy ball to know this, but if he's a Shoop disciple, and so my wife and I, were together when Shoop was still OC, and we had our version of what we call the slip screen, throw to the man lying on the ground play, because the slip screen was always the slot would always fall down, and then the ball would get thrown right, and it would hit the guy when he's laying on the ground. He'd have to get up and try and run. But
try to rub off the
I
shoulder
don't.
of the other wideout. Or
Shoop
something.
was the king of the quick slip screen, and it drove me freaking insane. It is such a it still is. It's still super popular, and it drives. It's good every once in a while, but he ran it religiously, probably 20 times a game. It drove me nuts.
He did. No, I was definitely cognizant for the Shoop days.
Throw the man lying on the ground.
I feel like that was late end Shoop though. That was like the beginning of the end. That was when we started.
Break.
That was when we started to like really turn on Shoop. But he had a couple of good seasons.
He did have some good years. He
was a pretty solid. He was a pretty solid OC. But yeah, that slip screen. And now we ran it all freaking year with DJ Moore all the time too. So
yeah. Absolutely.
That doesn't make it in the playbook as prevalent.
What are they going to have to fork over for Chase, Cody?
Yeah. What are we going to have to fork over?
Yeah. So we are in that it's between a rock and a hard place where, because we didn't sign Chase last year, we've already had Higgins on the franchise tag. Like, I don't see a scenario in which we can keep all three of them without Burrow restructuring his contract. He said he's going to do so, but you can only ask a guy to do so much when you have three people that are going to need that much money with a team with a terrible offensive line and a horrible defense. Like, we have so many things that we need to go after.
And sadly,
who's the third?
Higgins is going to.
Who's the third? Higgins.
Yeah,
Higgins,
Chase,
Jamar Chase, and Burrow.
Trey Hendrickson.
Hendrickson. Oh yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, and Mike Gesicki, who also had a pretty incredible year for his first year in the offense, but
unfortunately, Higgins is going to be the sacrificial lamb. I think.
I think so too. I think so too.
Because he ain't gonna part with Chase.
No, Burrow and Chase are best friends on and off the field. They're going to do anything and everything they can to keep Joe Burrow happy. If that means selling the farm to keep Chase, they will.
Right.
But I think Higgins is going to be the one left out.
Do you think you can sign two of your top three with Chase being in the mix? Like, do you think Chase and T are going to get the same contract, like roughly?
No. Chase is going to get significantly higher. Chase will get generational. I mean, he just got the Triple Crown. It's only happened. Well, it was only the fifth player to ever do it.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, I guess if you count this year, like, I'm a big T fan. I do.
I love T. So
I think he's fairly
aspect.
Yeah, you're right, and I think the Triple Crown is the big selling point that'll differentiate him from Chase or from T in the contract. But I was trying to think if there's like a scenario where like you sign T because he's cheaper, which opens you up the ability to sign more folks. But if Chase is like like buddy with Burrow, I think you're probably right. You
ain't going anywhere.
Well, and here's the thing.
I will gladly sign T Higgins if we can.
Oh man. So that's the other thing is like there is a significant drop in our offense when T Higgins is hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Because they key on Chase.
And they double Chase the whole time.
And that's the other thing is, so oftentimes what would happen is T Higgins would get their best defender.
Mm-hmm.
Because then they would just double team Chase with their, and that's the other thing is Chase is a short, fast, agile wide receiver. T Higgins is a big, strong, physical, go up and get it receiver. And they play so well together. You need them both. You need them both.
I'd love to replace. I mean, like, because it seems like Allen's gonna walk, and it seems less likely that we're gonna sign him. So I'd take T as a replacement for Allen right now.
I think T's gonna go somewhere and get wide receiver one money.
Yes.
If I were a betting man, I would say, like someone like a Patriots, like they don't have a clear wide receiver one. Somewhere like, I'm sorry,
KC.
Possibly. God, I hope not. But they've shown that they don't need a. But here's the thing: KC has So obviously they had Rashee Rice went injured,
right.
but he was a top 5 wide receiver before
That's
he went
fair.
on.
Yeah, you're right. I
Yeah.
forget about Rice.
Just been a first-round pick on Worthy. Got the fastest wide receiver in the history of the NFL in the combine.
Mhm.
They still have Kelce for another year. I'm sure if they win the Super Bowl, they're gonna go for 4, Pete. Like
Dude,
right.
he's freaking toast, man.
Oh,
Like,
but he was toast. At the end of last year too.
He was he cooked as soon as he got hooked up with Taylor. For sure.
But my assumption is he's gonna go somewhere where he can get wide receiver money, where he can get fed the ball. So he's gonna, like I said, he's gonna go to the Patriots. He's gonna go to. Well, I mean, look at the Raiders. The Raiders brought Carroll. They lost Devonta. They lost Adams. Myers is 29. He's not the future of the franchise.
No, but he's a good back.
Carroll wants to win now. He's not going to coach for 5-10 more years. So they're going to get him assets where he can win now.
Damn, I could see him going to the Packers too. I don't know if the Packers have the cap space for it, but I could see that move too.
Yep.
They have
I would hate that.
I think they have a very strong core with 0 stars. They're all like B plus.
Yeah.
Very average.
4 of them.
Yeah.
But they don't have an
A
ace.
bunch of no name.
As a unit,
not no names, but
yeah, as a unit they're strong, but individually there's nobody that stands above.
Stand out. Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Browns the Brown family changes their way. I'm not hopeful that they will. I think Joe Burrow's our best chance in every aspect of success in this franchise. He's the best chance we have of keeping the people that he wants around, and it's going to cost him money. But
they'll figure it out.
Need him to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so Super Bowl predictions.
Back to Super Bowl predictions. That's right.
We have to
What's your head and what's your heart saying?
My heart's telling me that this is finally the year that the Eagles are going to pull it out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want the three-peat. I don't want the smoke that comes with that.
No.
But a lot of people are talking about how pedestrian Mahomes' year has been and the Chiefs in general. The thing I'll say is that I've said this in every sport. A mark of a true champion is the ones that figure out when they're so good that they don't have to care about what happens in the regular season. They know that they can coast, and when it comes time to game, that's when they turn it on and figure it out. And that's kind of what I'm worried about with the Chiefs is that everybody says, "Oh, this is the Eagles' year because the Chiefs weren't as great as they were in the previous years, or Mahomes is pedestrian and this year comparatively speaking." But I said it about like Miami. I've said it about the Warriors and in the NBA. Like, you start to see when those guys are winning multiple championships that there's a point where they realize unless you're shooting for 72-10 or 16-0 or 17-0, like there's no reason to shoot your shot in the regular season when you're a team like the Chiefs. There's no reason to. Like you're trying to weather the storm in the regular season, get to the playoffs, and then show everybody, okay, you forgot about us. Now it's time for us to remind you why we're the top team in the league. And that's what scares me the most about the Chiefs.
Well, if that's coasting,
well, yeah.
then they got.
I mean, comparatively speaking, it is.
It's all
right?
relative. It's all relative.
I'll take a little bit of
definitely
coasting at Chicago, Cincy. That would be nice. I'll take that coasting.
It's definitely not a down year for Mahomes, but again, I think he's like, what does he have to prove at this point anymore? Yeah. Like it's all for him. It's all about that third ring in a row, so he can rub that in Brady's face, and who gives a shit about what my stats are in the regular season? I just want to, I want to wait in the weeds. Everybody forgets about me. We'll make it to the chip, and then I'll just ball out in front of everybody again and remind them I'm still who I am.
Nobody ain't forgetting about him.
Well, I think I think that the Eagles have more weapons. I think they have the more talented team.
They're the more talented team.
Right. They're the more talented team. I think it's in their court. It's what Eagles team shows up that's going to determine the game. Because we know what Chiefs team is going to show up. It's going to be the team that's won the championship 5 times in the last 7 years or whatever the hell it is. because no one comes on in the playoffs like Mahomes, like that Mahomes and Travis Kelce combination. But this is not the same Eagles team that it was last year. As long as Andy Reid and Mahomes are together, they're never out of it by any stretch. The mad scientist and like the sidearm slinger, like it works. They make it work. They come on and they're a hot team in the playoffs. They always are. They always come on. They perform. Last year, like I said, Travis Kelce, horrible fantasy year. Come playoffs, 2 touchdown games, 3
he's getting an.
He was holding it in.
He's getting an anytime touchdown no matter what. So you can bet on that one.
So, but yeah, I do think it comes down to the Eagles, which form of the Eagles we get. I think if they can establish the run with Barkley, which they're going to have to do, they can open it up for AJ. They can open it up for Smith. They can open up the play action pass, the bootleg for Hurts and his mobile.
It's all on Hurts, man. It's all on Hurts. He's got to maintain the ball. Can't turn over the ball like he did in the previous one.
100%.
And they'll, if they can do that and not get burnt by Mahomes taking advantage of it, which he will. Yeah. Then they're going to win that game. But if they have any fumbles whatsoever or any turnovers, they're going to have problems.
Yeah. I was going to go the opposite. I was going to say it's all Saquon's game. Like, really, this all kind of comes down to Saquon. I feel like if he can put them in positions on field position wise on their side of the ball, they might be able to weather a turnover or two. Mm-hmm. But I, if he's, I guess less, he's more critical to them not failing than he is to their success, if that makes any sense. Like if Saquon goes out there and lays an egg, they're cooked.
Oh, 100%.
100%. But if Saquon has a good game and Hurts has a shit game too, they still might be cooked. Mm-hmm. So like I think to me, like I see your point that it all comes down to how many turnovers that Hurts has, because I do think that's going to be a huge factor in this game for sure. Mm-hmm. But I just cannot discredit how important Saquon's going to be to it as well too. So I think he has the potential to hurt you more than you as a team. Then like he's in the position to hurt you the most, I feel like. But if he has a complete shit game, I think those guys are dead in the water. But if he does well, he still needs Hurts to do well, I feel like, in order for them to pull it out.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's fair.
And I think the Eagles also have to be physical with Worthy on the line, so they take away the deep threat. Because if there's one weakness to his game, it is he can be thrown around if he's stuck at the line, mm-hmm. and they have to handle the mid range because that's where Kelce plays. And if you let Mahomes dance and skate around in the pocket or get outside, it just gives him. It gives him time to find the seam, and that's what he does. I don't even think he knows. I don't even think he has a route. He just goes, finds pocket, turns around, and says, "Hit me."
And that's what I don't. It's what I never understand about that whole situation. Is in the same thing with Gronk too.
Now,
like. Put a spy on that dude, like put him in double coverage and let the other receivers hurt you.
Yeah.
Like,
take away your big
threat.
Yeah.
At this point, I'd almost feel like you got to spy him over spying Mahomes.
Mahomes is gonna,
because he's gonna
scramble.
Stuff.
He's not going to kill you with his feet.
Right.
Like he'll rip off a couple of big runs, but there's nothing. It's going to be no Justin Field type. I'm going to take off and go to the house.
He's a Russell Wilson. He scrambles to keep the play going.
Right.
Not to use his legs as well.
Legs for
right. And so I think when Mahomes is winning games and getting hot in the playoffs is because Kelce gets activated.
Yeah.
So take him out of the game.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's easier said than done, but my gosh, like the in these games you're watching and you're like, how the hell is this dude being so open?
Yeah. Like Belichick made a career out of it. I'm just going to take away your best offensive weapon and then make the rest of your team beat us.
Press Worthy, one-on-one, press him good. Keep your spy on Kelce.
Mhm.
If Worthy beats you one play down the field, one touchdown, so what?
It's going to happen.
Adjust. But until he proves to you that you can't shut him down by pressing him at the line, just keep doing that. There's no reason to play soft shell cover 2 over the top on him.
Right.
Like just because you're worried that he's gonna pop it deep and take 2 people out, so then you have less availability to spy somebody like Kelce, and then Kelce just waits for the middle to vacate and just sits there for Mahomes to pop it to him. I think you're absolutely right. I think you got to spy Kelce the whole time and keep your tight press coverage on Worthy, and then let the rest of it shake out.
You need the linebacker with the safety over the top on Kelce constantly, and then let Worthy beat you over the top. But the worst part about it is Kelce. Sure, you're going to get beat over the top. It's going to happen. But when Kelce is chunking yardage on you, it's demoralizing.
Right. You can't let him get hot. You cannot let him
It's demoralizing. And it's just like, and I think there's the mental aspect of that. I think has a bigger impact on a team than I think people realize.
Yeah. Because he's a vocal leader too. So if he gets going, he gets jacked up. He gets
really chippy, and
he brings people along with him.
Yeah, and
then there's lots of cuts to Taylor, and then I have to turn it off.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Is like he's another one of those guys that I feel like is gone off the reservation. He cares about his social life more, but because of who he is and what he's achieved already, he could show up in the Super Bowl and erase any doubters with a touchdown right off the bat and start chunking plays like that, and everybody be like, where the hell was this the rest of the year? And he could say, you know what, I don't care. I'm here now in the big games when it matters, and he could get MVP. If he
could, if he gets super hot,
Because I feel like that's another one of those things where everybody's slept on him for quite some time, and he breaks off a couple tutties in there. And I think even the Vegas odds I want to say was plus 1,600 or something for tight end being the Super Bowl MVP. It's like, I'm not a betting man, but
that's not bad odds for a tight end.
Bad odds. Especially when Kelce's in the mix for that.
Billy does win. Say if Barkley's getting that MVP.
Yeah, and even running back MVP was still plus. I think it was plus 400. I want to say, and quarterback was plus 250. So it's still with Saquon and Kelce being in play for those potential MVPs, those odds are pretty enticing.
Pretty good.
Again, I'm not a sports bettor, but those would be odds that I would probably take.
Well, and the crazy thing to think about is obviously Kelce's an incredible talent, one of the greatest tight ends of all time. Goddard for the Eagles isn't a slouch either.
Right.
Obviously he's been banged up the last year or so, but he was a top 5 tight end.
Yeah.
2 years ago, 3 years ago.
I don't think he's gonna get MVP, but
no. But if you think about it, okay, who's got the best running back? Well, that's obviously Philly. Who's got the best wide receiving core? Well, that's definitely Philly. Who's got the best offensive line? That's Philly. Who's it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a better game than it was last year.
Yeah, I'm just hoping for
so.
finally
My
a
gosh.
good game. Yeah.
Yeah. And the biggest thing is I hate the fact that Taylor Swift fans, if they're new to football, have won a Super Bowl every year that they've been watching the sport. And for the last 2 years, if they win the Super Bowl this year, and I've been watching it my entire life, and I've never even come close. And the one year we did, I was in my 30s already.
I don't even know. My Super Bowl existence has been my Super Bowl, recent Super Bowl history has been just insufferable because we have friends who are Patriots fans.
Oh,
so. And we invite them over. They're Bears fans too, but they somehow magically become Patriots fans whenever the Super Bowl comes around.
It's funny how that happens.
Yeah, I was born somewhere close to Boston, so now I'm and lived there for a minute, and now I'm a Patriots fan. But that was insufferable having to sit through all the Patriots Super Bowls where they were just winning and winning and winning, or even just showing up. Even just showing up and making it to the Super Bowl was nauseating to have to deal with people that are just jump on the bandwagon for Patriots fans. And now we have to deal with it with Kansas City and all the Taylor Swift fans. And it's brutal. I hope to God Philly wins. Please, Philly.
Yeah. I never hated KC. I always respected them. I always thought they were a really good team. Swift makes me want to hate the team.
You know what's funny is
Mahomes claim is pretty
Taylor Swift's
jacked up too.
actually even doing anything wrong. It's just everything that
He's not doing anything wrong.
Right.
He's not doing anything wrong.
No,
it's the cut.
Sure.
It's the NFL. It's the cut scenes. Like anybody cares.
Yeah.
That she's there. Like
the NFL, the second they heard that Taylor Swift was dating Kelce, the money in their eyes just started rolling. And they're like, we are going to key on this because everything she touches.
Yeah, she
brings millions of people with her.
I bet you in the control room, they've probably got like their balances.
The Taylor cam.
They got a Taylor cam and then they got their balances like on the right hand side. And it's like every time we cut to them, we make another $50,000.
Yeah,
just keep doing that. keep doing that.
Yeah. Hey, for every 60 seconds that she gets camera time, Travis Kelce sells $600,000 in jerseys.
Right.
So bad. So bad.
That's so crazy. I'm really rooting for the Eagles though.
Yeah,
I am too. It'll be cool to see. And poor Jason's going to be really upset, but it's time.
Oh yeah, one of the most likable people on the planet.
Yeah.
But
well, on that note, is that a wrap, guys?
Yeah, unless you guys, I mean, we covered NFL pretty well. We
didn't cover the other topics.
We didn't cover any other topics, but
we started with the NFL predictions and then
ended with the
70 minutes later answered.
Yeah, judging by the lack of whiskey in my glass.
Yes, I'm down as well. I got just water now. Yeah. So don't judge me. I've got it on the rocks.
No, dude, the rocks is good. Do you got a big rock or what do you got?
Mine rocks.
Yeah, let's keep it going for a minute and just talk about what's everybody drinking. What do you got?
I got the some local driftless Glen going on bourbon, with a Luxardo and
local-ish.
Little simple, a local-ish. Mm-hmm. Yeah, across the cheese curtain.
Wisco, it's
Wisco. Yeah.
But no, driftless Glen is good stuff. I've kind of liked it. What about you, Cody? You got anything?
I didn't have one tonight. I had so we had some family over and had a little pizza night, and I had a margarita at dinner. But I definitely need to pull the bourbon out next time we do this.
What do you?
So my go-to has been oh my goodness, it's literally my favorite. Here, come back to me. What are you drinking, Andy?
I had the Smoky O, which for me is pretty standard. Maple smoked old fashioned. Use maple syrup instead of simple. I
gotta go with that maple syrup. That's a good idea.
It really doesn't change the profile of the drink all that much, and it's just a little bit more like versatile of an ingredient to have in your house. Like if I buy simple syrup, I'm only using simple syrup in like cocktail mixers. If I buy maple syrup, I can have them on my waffles. I can, like, so it's just like one of those things you can find in a lot of different places. And I feel like it's a decent sub for simple, and it doesn't change the profile all that much. Definitely Luxardo, which you talked about. It's Luxardo or nothing for me.
Right.
And I smoke my old fashions every time. Been doing it for probably going on 3 years now. Every time I got the little.
What's your chips? Which flavor are you going with?
I don't know. I think mesquite or something. Something very, very standard. It, like it. Again, I don't think.
I don't know if it changes the profile all that much.
Changes the profile. Yeah, exactly.
It's more the smell than anything.
It's smoked
else.
or nothing. Yeah, and it's the smell. And now like I've seasoned my smoking chamber, I guess you can call it, like a little smoking. Like I really feel like it's a miniature version of like some like Aaron Franklin like barbecue pit, like it's so well seasoned that as soon as I fire up the torch on it, like the smell just takes over the entire downstairs and just puts you right in the mood. It doesn't matter how much of it gets into your drink. You can smell it in the kitchen when you make it, and that's good enough.
Activate something in the brain.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like my standard Smokey O is very, what would the people call it, warm, meaning it's mostly whiskey, very little of anything else. So I'm sure you'll see it as we do these things. Like it's pretty stacked to the top, where it's to the point where it's just making me feel like I'm not drinking straight whiskey, but like
it's like the mimosa pour. You get the orange eyedropper, like
dirty dishwater.
Right.
No, so I had Cutwater margarita, which is in a can.
In a can.
Okay.
It comes with a story. I don't know if either of you have had the Cutwater margaritas. So I had never heard of them either until I went to a PGA tournament in South Carolina here. So the tournament was only about 45 minutes away, but it was the first year they had opened back up in the PGA, allowing spectators after COVID. But at the time, the Canadian borders were still closed. So the Canadian Open, they had to find a new location. So they did it in Hardyville, South Carolina, which is 45 minutes away from here. And so we went and we drove. We left the house at like 6:30 in the morning. We got there at like 7:15. And the bar carts didn't open until like 8:30. Not or 8:30 or 9 or something like that. But the liquor was open though. So I was like, oh well, I guess like I'll take one of those like margarita cans or whatever that is. I'll just take one of those. And I drink. I'm like, man, this is really good. Like this is awesome.
They're pretty stout too, right?
Yeah. So I was literally like, it was hot too, because it was. I mean, it was a hot, humid day, so they were going down. And I was on my fourth one, and I looked down. I'm like, oh, these are 12.5%.
Yeah.
So, and the issue, which is one thing on its own, but because this was kind of a short notice tournament, they didn't have strategically they didn't have the layout quite nailed down. So the parking lot was off of 9, which was about as far from 1 as you could be. But then all of the food was at 1. So you had to go across the entire course to go get food. But then all the course, so like we were on an empty stomach drinking all day long.
You guys probably felt like the friggin' Jews crossing the desert or something like that.
It was the perfect storm of a terrible combination or a great combination, depending on how you look at it. But
those Cutwaters are no joke.
It kicked my teeth in that day. I think I had like 6 or 7 of them, 0 food.
Yeah. Remember there was a time when anything that came out of a can had to be like 5% or less. I don't know that was like a rule or anything, but like, yeah, it's not until recently that I'm like, I have to actually check what these cans say, because like I just assume anything out of a can was going to be fine, but now you got like
THC and
quad imperial IPAs that are like 70% freaking alcohol or something. And then and these Cutwaters, there's a lot of half decent Cutwaters, some bad ones too, but there's a lot of half decent Cutwaters they'll get you there.
Oh yeah. Well, and there's, and because I have a beer fridge in my office right here, just because I'll game at night and I'll grab one every once in a while on the weekends.
As you want to do.
I've tried them all, not all, but I think I've tried all the flavors or whatever. And the lime is by far my favorite. But for the winter, sneaky good. White Russians. Water White Russians are delicious.
Have you had the peppermint one yet?
No.
They have a peppermint White Russian.
Ooh, I'll have to try that one out. They have the espresso martini too, which actually isn't terrible, but I prefer the White Russian personally. But
well,
yeah, to finish up on my drink too, like I don't have anything fancy in terms of the bourbon. I'm a bullet guy. I need when I make old fashions, Bullet's kind of the one. Though Driftless Glen, and there's like a few others like Russell's. I think you gave me a bottle of Russell's, Jason.
Yeah, I give you a bottle of Russell's. Yeah.
I like that.
Russell's
like something, I don't want to spend something that's like over $50 a bottle and put it in an old fashioned. That seems like a little bit of a waste to me.
Right.
But
I got Basil's, Buffalo Trace, Breckenridge is really good.
Breck's good, yeah. I gave my groomsman Breck. That was like
Breck's good.
Back when Breck was like still just coming around. Now they're pretty
now they're expensive.
Yeah. Easy to get, but expensive.
They are getting more expensive for sure. I remember my bottle I got for like $30, and now they're like 60, I think.
Right.
Like yeah.
Well, I got some other things to talk about, but I don't want to like in terms of drinks and stuff. But I'll leave that for future podcasts.
Oh yeah, we got to save some for future casts, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I think this was a good one for the first podcast, right?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
I guess to close it out with some shilling time. If anybody actually stumbles across this on the interwebs and they liked what you heard and kind of keyed in on us and our voice, give us a like, give us a subscribe, let us know in the comments and stuff. I mean, we'll keep doing these live until
because we want to.
Because we want to, exactly. Yeah, I don't care if 0 people see this. Which, looking at our current viewers right now, it's 0. But it doesn't matter to me because I enjoy talking with you guys. This is kind of like what we do. How this came to be is like anytime we get together, this is what we do anyway. So we figured we might as well record it and see if anybody else likes it. But great Friday night. I enjoyed talking with you guys. And if you see this and want to give us a subscribe, please do. And we'll see you soon for the next one.
Yeah.
That's great.
Have a good one.
Right.
Cheers.
See you guys. All right. Bye.
Yep.